Inside the world's highest security prison, CECOT, where evil is contained. What does it take to confine the world's most dangerous criminals? In a small Central American nation where crime once dominated the streets, an unprecedented solution emerged. A fortress-like facility designed to house thousands of the most notorious gangsters in complete isolation. Welcome to the Center for Confinement of Terrorism, or CECOT, labeled the world's most secure prison. This video takes an in-depth look at CECOT, its origins, operations, and controversial significance. Is it a necessary tool in the war against crime, or an ethical line crossed too far? Let's explore. El Salvador, a country of just 6.5 million people, became synonymous with gang violence. Notorious groups like MS-13 and Barrio 18 carved a terrifying path across neighborhoods, extorting businesses, recruiting children, and instilling fear in local communities. By the 2010s, the violence had spiraled out of control, pushing homicide rates to the highest in the world. Gang leaders, even while imprisoned, coordinated criminal activities with impunity. Desperation gave rise to radical measures. President Nayib Bukele implemented a nationwide crackdown on gangs, known as El Salvador's State of Exception. In less than 2 years, over 70,000 alleged gang members and collaborators were detained. Yet, traditional prisons were ill-equipped to handle the surge. The solution? Build the world's most secure prison, a place where escape is impossible, and rehabilitation is not even on the agenda. Located in Tecoluca, around 45 miles from the capital San Salvador, lies CECOT, a sprawling complex built to imprison up to 40,000 inmates. Opened in 2023, the facility boasts a fortress-like structure designed for absolute containment. It is equipped with cutting-edge technology, including 24/7 surveillance via thousands of cameras and advanced facial recognition systems. The prison is encircled by 37 watchtowers, concrete walls several meters thick, and electric fences imposing enough to stop even the boldest escape attempts. CECOT's architecture sends a clear message: no one is leaving, ever. Even approaching the heavily guarded facility is an intimidating experience. Life within CECOT is as controlled as the facility itself. Forget yard time or any semblance of normal interaction. CECOT is a place where inmates are stripped of any shred of autonomy. Prisoners here sleep on bare concrete slabs and are issued minimal clothing. Days are punctuated by a strict regimen of meal distributions and lockdowns, with virtually no time outside their cells. Even the act of speaking between inmates is heavily restricted. The prison thrives on isolation, preventing inmates from forming alliances or continuing gang activities from within. Perhaps the starkest aspect is the complete disconnection from the outside world. No visitors, no phones, no communication. For gang leaders who once ruled sprawling criminal empires from behind bars and other prisons, CECOT marks the end of that reign. The immediate results of CECOT's opening seem to validate the government's hardline approach. Crime rates in El Salvador plummeted, with murder rates dropping to historic lows. For the first time in years, communities began to reclaim their neighborhoods, businesses reopened without fear of extortion, and life resumed in a previously paralyzed nation. Perhaps most notably, the structure of notorious gangs began faltering. Gang leaders, unable to communicate with their networks, saw their influence diminished. The iron grip MS-13 and Barrio 18 once had over El Salvador began to weaken. For many Salvadorans, this dramatic drop in violence is a source of immense hope. The government's efforts to rid the country of its gang problem have been celebrated both locally and internationally as an unparalleled victory against organized crime. But while CECOT is hailed as a success story by some, its harsh measures and ethical implications have sparked intense global debate. Human rights organizations have criticized the prison for its inhumane conditions. The stark, isolating environment is seen as punitive rather than reformative. Prisoners are often denied basic comforts of life, and many spend years without any chance at rehabilitation, raising the question, does locking people away with little hope of reform solve the larger problem? Mass arrests under the state of exception have also raised eyebrows. Critics argue that innocents may have been swept up in the government's aggressive tactics. Families of detainees claim some were arrested without substantial evidence or credible charges. The lack of transparency fuels concerns over whether justice is being sacrificed in the name of safety. These ethical questions don't stop at El Salvador's borders. They prompt a global reckoning with whether such approaches to justice, prioritizing containment over compassion, can or should be replicated elsewhere. While CECOT operates at an extreme, it is not the world's only high-security prison. Other infamous facilities, such as ADX Florence in the United States, Pelican Bay State Prison in California, and Black Dolphin in Russia, also follow strict regimens of isolation and control. What sets CECOT apart is its scale and scope, its ability to house tens of thousands of inmates under the strictest conditions. Many have pointed out that CECOT isn't just a response to crime, but a deliberate display of state power. The Salvadoran government uses the prison as proof that it is winning against gangs, turning it into a symbol of triumph and control. But symbols can cut both ways. Some argue that prisons like CECOT perpetuate a cycle of dehumanization, treating inmates as irredeemable rather than addressing the root causes of crime, such as poverty, lack of education, and inequality. On the other hand, supporters say such approaches are necessary when the safety of entire nations is at stake. CECOT stands at the heart of a fundamental question. How far should a society go to ensure public safety? What makes this debate so compelling is the prison's direct connection to some of humanity's darkest fears, chaos and violence, but also the possibility of redemption. As we look around the world, prisons like CECOT force us to consider the balance between justice, deterrence, and humanity. They highlight the age-old dilemma of whether justice should focus on punishment or rehabilitation. In countries like El Salvador, where crime decimated entire generations, prisons like CECOT may be justifiable as extreme measures for extraordinary times. However, the true test of CECOT's impact lies not in today's crime statistics, but in its long-term effects on society. Will it create a safer, more stable nation? Or will it leave behind new grievances and challenges for future generations? CECOT is more than a prison. It is a mirror held up to society, reflecting our fears, our ambitions, and our values. It stands as a reminder of the lengths governments will go to combat violence, but also the moral lines crossed to get there. El Salvador's highest security prison has undoubtedly saved lives and restored a sense of safety for millions. But it comes at a cost. Harsh conditions for inmates, justice systems pushed to their limits, and a growing global debate over how far is too far. As we end this exploration, one question lingers. Is this the price we must pay for security, and is it worth it? It's up to you, the audience, to decide. What does justice mean in a world of imperfect choices? Thank you for joining us on this journey. If this topic resonated with you, do share your thoughts in the comments below, and stay tuned for more groundbreaking stories from around the world.